I'm going to get started now with the astrodoodle. There we go. Alright, I still have a little bit more to do, so if you don't mind, I'm just going to keep doing that. right. Alright, let me put that over here. I'm going to put this down here. I'll be right there with you in just a second. Let's see now. Alrighty. Thank you, Tina. It's probably going to be a very short, quiet evening. I kind of put it on my on my little newsletter invitation for the show tonight. I might only be able to just handle one reading at the way things are going at the moment. It's really quiet, but I feel it's important that I show up. At least that I show up. All right. I guess you know what I'm going to do. I'm just going to mark like an alert here. There's all this massive file, Taurus, all of this. Okay, but we've also got here, it's approaching here, which is the Gemini moon, new moon on its way, right here. We're very close now. All right. All right, let's just leave it at that. I'm going to check in with you guys. Give me a second here. Let's see how this works. Ah, there we are. Good evening. Hi. I put it in my my little Tarot Lumination email. We're basically on the cusp of this Gemini new moon. And for me personally, new moons tend to be very, very subdued, very quiet periods. It's maybe 36 hours at most, but I'm right in it right now. And we don't usually have new moons exactly on the show, but that's what we have. And the fact that it's in Gemini, okay, but I'm really talking about any new moon. It tends to me to be very, like a very, very quiet personal time, like almost like a hibernation until the lunar energy picks up again. We come out like when the moon rises up into Cancer in a day or a couple of days. Then I'm kind of back on form again. Hello, Ivona. Hello, Tina. We might have Gregory Ross here tonight. He sent me an email earlier. He might indicate he might want a little mini reading tonight, but be prepared for a very short show. That's just basically what I'm trying to mention to people. So let me just go over here back to the stage so I can give you my personal opinions. Remember, I'm just an amateur astrologer. I'm not some sort of big global authority like Jessica Adams and, you know, Kelly Rosano and those types, and Lada Duncheva. You know, I don't consider myself in that crowd, but I do what I can. And sometimes I feel like I know things that they don't. But, you know, it's just because we're different. They have different sensory systems, different portals, different filters, different perceptions, different learning that create their own opinions. All right. So let me go to this for a moment. I don't know if you can see it with the camera, but I highlighted the Taurus energy here right now because it's really big and it's extended because it stretches all the way from just like 0 degrees up to almost 30 degrees. So we have Venus, Uranus, the North Node, and Mercury retrograde. Okay? And Pluto's actually retrograde. Now, again, with all these, to me, I mean, there are a lot of folks who are emphasizing and looking very closely at this conjunction here with Mars and Jupiter. I understand that. I already talked about that in some previous videos this week. I see it mostly as like this very bombastic kind of energy, especially the kind of energy that's being presented by China, where even though China has a huge amounts of problems in its own country, in its own politics, in its own economy, the Chinese Communist Party, the CCP, is being extremely boisterous and very kind of thuggish in the way it's communicating across the earth right now. And Mars conjoined Jupiter, I think it's very much about like I'm gonna do you, don't mess with me. I feel so superpowered that I can just obliterate anything. It's a little bit of overconfidence, I would say, regarding the ability to be aggressive, the ability to be assertive, the ability to be violent. Okay, so the reason, Jupiter together is not a good thing or a bad thing. It's just that they're combined like this, and it's a very powerful energy. There's not a lot of red ink to do with this, but on a global scale, as you know, we've already built up momentum for years now to be in a very contentious situation on the whole of planet Earth. Everything, everywhere now is starting to burn, okay? It's very much of an incendiary atmosphere right now. I think it amplified tremendously over the last 5 days or so. And that coincides very strongly with Mars conjoining Jupiter. And I think it's going to extend for a while. For example, we have massive protests over here in little Sri Lanka. Even though it's little, they have 30, 40 million people there or something? 20 million people? I can't remember. Anyway, it's a lot of people in a tiny island, and they are completely destitute, utterly destitute. And it's because of extremely corrupt politics and banking and management. And so the whole of the country is rioting against their leadership, okay? It's very dangerous. It's like it's not just a powder keg that's going off. It's already gone off. It's very explosive and dangerous here right now. The population don't have weapons, so it's not as violent as it could be. Over here in Pakistan, that is completely gone berserk as well. There's some elections over there that have become, again, very hostile. And one guy is calling out the whole population to turn against the newly elected leader. And so massive riots all over the country. And this is already an extremely volatile area of the earth over here. And of course, we've already got it in Lebanon and Iran and Somalia and everything. Nigeria is having a huge amount of problems, okay? Same with the Ivory Coast. India it's having to be very, very, I would say, it's really having to hold its ground very aggressively because there's so much pressure coming at India from China. And because, as you know, China is starting to become a really serious threat over here. China is behaving like a enraged pit bull that's still in a cage, itching to just release itself from the chains and just savage anything and everything in this area, to take it out as a piece of, just to take it out so that they can control all of this. And they're being extremely aggressive about it. And then, of course, there's North Korea. They're shooting off missiles already. Okay? So it's quite scary, Of course, we have the big conflict over here. I don't know if you can see that on this map. Or maybe... No, you can't really see it. It's so tiny. I should find other ways to display. But there's the main conflict over here. But it's been going on for almost 4 months now. February, March, April, May. Yeah, 4 months. February 24th it all began. Now, I'm just pointing these things out because the subject of violence, to me, seems very amplified, especially in very warlike conditions that have been building up for a long time right now. A lot of the war and a lot of the conflict is happening in the world of money. Because as you know, there's a massive, there's a massive, I guess, slow motion, controlled demolition of the world economy right now that is being organized by the United States Federal Reserve, the WEF, and all those folks over there, because basically we've kind of reached an end game with the way the global economy works, with the US dollar and all the other currencies having to copycat the US dollar with creating fake money all day, every day in order to survive. And of course, ultimately, it always has an end game, and that end game is always an implosion of the economy and the currency, and it devolves into war, actual war. We're already in World War III. I don't mind declaring it out loud, because the war is extremely violent in the currency markets that's going on between the United States and the rest of the world, and the rest of the world and the United States. Okay, there's Russia over here. Okay, basically at war here. Oh, there's China at war here. Every other currency is just trying to stay alive in the battlefield right now. Some countries are imploding and collapsing. Venezuela's already collapsed. Zimbabwe's already collapsed. So Sri Lanka is collapsing, but it's effectively already collapsed. They've got huge problems in Hong Kong now, and it's just spreading everywhere. Inside the United States, we've got some very serious problems with runaway inflation. It's much worse than what they're telling you on the news, and it's going to accelerate and get even worse. And what that does, it's like the destruction of the value of your bank account, your assets. Now, of course, some people are doing really well in this environment. If you happen to be involved in very big global pharmaceutical companies, big oil and gas companies, what are the other ones? They basically profit from war. If you are in what do they call it? The military-industrial complex, like in the United States, for example, we have Raytheon, Northrop Grumman, Boeing, General Dynamic, and I always forget one out of the five. Anyway, there's five big ones. They're making billions in profits, okay? Billions and billions and billions. And it's all shared between their buddies at the very top of the pyramids of power, okay? I don't want to spread doom and gloom. I'm just basically trying to convey facts and information and just leave it at that. The beauty of what we do is that we make a decision to be loving. Here, be loving, be loved. Be loving, be loved. Everyone's doing what they have to do to stay alive. And if you want to get, become active, what do they call them, like proactive, that's fine. I'm literally just trying to mind my own business, protect my money, protect my privacy, protect myself. And when I do these little shows and I do these reports, to me it's just like a weather forecast. I'm trying to give you my opinions and how best to deal with the situation so that you're not a victim of these circumstances. Okay, some of you obviously know about the big shooting that happened over here. There's another shooting that just happened up in Chicago, by the way, today. And that's fine, but I've already kind of voiced my opinions about the shooting. There's something very, very, let's say, dark and shadowy about the shooting besides the tragedy itself. And that's to do with the extremely unusual behavior of the first responders and some of the teachers in the school, and it's making the whole shooting incident look like it was heavily staged. And we already know for a fact that the FBI in America has a habit of, let's say, finding highly vulnerable children and grooming them and turning them into weapons, essentially what appears to the rest of the world as hardcore right-wing extremist, violent killer, like suicide bomber type energy. These are kids who are beyond hope, and so that's a fantastic weapon. Okay? Hello, Path Traveler. I'm trying to stay off the doom and the gloom, but I just wanted to illustrate the main points. One of the things that I am enjoying is that I'm seeing a real upsurge and a blossoming and a growth of people that in America, they call them patriots, constitutionalists, people who want to reconstitute the Constitution, because at the moment the United States is operating without its Constitution. Everything has gone completely rogue. We have allowed that to happen. We, the people, have allowed that to happen because we have been very, very, very effectively seduced and duped and manipulated into a stupor of comfort. Okay? Hello, Indigo. Yeah, okay. You know what? If you don't mind, folks, I'm just going to leave it at that for the two readings. I'll do a reading for Tina and a reading for Indigo. I won't be able to handle much more, to be honest. So I just wanted to, let you know I'm still here. I haven't gone away. Again, with this energy here, there's a very powerful trine energy, this sextile energy here. It indicates to me that there is hope. It's not the end of the world. It's just that in terms of earthly realities, there's something very, very stabilizing and very comforting about this trine and these sextiles over here, which is acting as a counterbalance to all the really heavy, negative, like blood red energy that we've been dealing with lately. So what's going to happen is right now we've got the Gemini new moon. Now it's not heavily aspected, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about the new moon cycle. I'm more interested in what's coming up in July, when we've got the Cancer Capricorn oppositions. June I feel is going to be kind of like a bit of a breathing space before we get into the July months over here, when we're going to have Sun and other planets opposing Pluto, when things are going to get active again. Then we've got other things building up here that are going to square off with the Scorpio-Taurus axis. But for now, I'm just going to leave it as it is, okay? Thank you, Indigo. You want a love read? You met someone. Oh, how nice. You know what I could do is I could do a little micro. Well, I'll just do what I do, okay? Anyway, just another pointer. Here we are. We're right at the end of May now. It's the 29th. It's over here. Okay? We've already got Mercury retrograde. And we're heading into June. Pluto's already retrograde. And just as a heads up, in a few days, Mercury's going to go direct again. So Mercury's in Taurus right now. Then it's going to slide back forward into Gemini. And so Mercury's going to be in Gemini for a good chunk of time, okay? But the thing is, Saturn is going retrograde, okay? Now I see this as it's going to trigger China, okay? Because China has a very important Aquarius aspect in its astrological identity with the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party. What I'm sensing is that China is going to try to resist this karmic pressure, and instead of, let's say, succumbing to and humbling itself to karma, it's going to react, okay? And China's going to become more threatening and more belligerent. So just giving you a heads up. All right. Let's put this aside. I'm going to... Sorry, give me a second. Water, just plain water. All right. Thank you, Tina. All right, so actually, first of all, I have to do what I do. I'm going to put out my magic post-it notes. Tina Miller, and then Indigo Williams, okay? Alright, let's have a look here. Got that sorted out. Alright, so you know what? I'm going to put on just a little bit of background, some music while I shuffle all this up, okay? If you don't mind, just okie dokie. Hey, precious. Have a great one. Okay, thanks, Pat. So, hey, precious moments, I see you over there. What we'll do, if it's okay with you, we'll try it again this week, all right? Weekday. I'll set something up, okay? I'm not going to do anything tonight. I can't take it tonight. I can only handle these 2 readings. So, precious, I got you. And we'll catch up, don't you worry. Alright, Tina, you're up. Now, some of you know Tina very well. We've all worked together quite well. We have our little, it's almost like a little family here, the way we do things. So we all have some backstory that we've shared with each other. Let's see what comes up here tonight for Tina. You know, maybe it's an idea. You know, sometimes it's best just to go completely blind, but we do have this new moon, and in honor and respect to the new moon, it might be an idea, Tina, to dedicate this reading to the new moon to see what kind of messages are coming up here for you in the context of this Gemini new moon. Now, everybody has this placement somewhere in their chart. It's going to be around 8 or 9 degrees of Gemini. So, for example, look at it this way. No matter who you are or where you are, okay, when we actually get the new moon, the moon is going to be conjoined the sun roughly 9 degrees. So this could be anywhere in your chart, okay? Okay? Literally anywhere in your chart, depending on your personal astrological DNA. So, in a very, very simplistic way, the new moon can represent new starts and like a fresh, almost like, especially with Gemini, like a breath of fresh air coming in. We're not quite there yet. We're on the evening and we're on the cusp of this new moon. But in the next day or two, you might start to feel it, because I don't know about you guys, but I'm very sensitive to the lunar cycles. And so if you want to look at it as a sine wave, as a pure sine wave, it does this, full moon, new moon, full moon, new moon, full moon, new moon, okay? So for over here, like Tina is saying, the Gemini energy is in her 7th house. So that would look something like this, for example. If you put it on a very, very approximately, okay? If I can get that. So the chart, this is how, for example, this is how the planets, these are the transiting planets, okay? This is not Tina Miller's chart. These are the planets that are transiting right now, and Tina Miller would have her own chart, and she's indicating that her Gemini 8-degree point, probably 9 degrees, Gemini 9 degrees, lies over here in the 7th house. So it could be for her, for example, with the 7th house, having a breath of fresh air and having a look at a 2-week cycle of, seeing relationships in a different way, communicating with relationships in with a fresh start, especially local relationships, right there in the neighborhood, with the new acquaintances, new people, new faces, new opportunities, new ways of transacting in the neighborhood, because a Gemini represents the energy of transaction between one human and another being, and that's on top of the communications. It's just that communications is a very significant form of transacting between one human and another. All right, Tina, thank you. I always feel really blessed when somebody gives me permission to do a blind reading, because then it just opens the door, and it's like, literally opening the window, have a look outside. Oh, what's that? Oh, what does that look like? What does that mean? Oh, what are we going to do with that? Oh, yeah, wow, okay. Very simple. Now, I already shuffled, but I'm just going to the very, very last second so everyone's a witness, okay? All right, here we go. Okay, let's just cut this up. I hope everything's good for you over there in Montana, Tina. And you're starting to get more and more used to your new location, the new vibes. Spring is here. Well, actually, summer is here, so it's probably... I'm very curious to hear some of the stories of what's going to be happening with you over the summer there in Montana. All right, here's the situation. Here's the challenges. Here's how we're going to handle it. And let's have a look at the external influences, which, for all intents and purposes, I always default to the planets, because they do have their external influence. Now, sometimes when I do personal readings, we get a lot deeper into stuff. But anyway, for now, we have the 7 of Pentacles. So my feeling is that perhaps it's something to do with relationships, but I think it's much more to do with your whole environment right now. Like, as you gaze out the window of your new location, your new life, your new world, it might be like, if, let's say, you blink and you have a look out there, you can, let's say, start to add some definition in terms of the assets and resources that are available to you. Obviously, there's your own personal assets and resources, but what I'm feeling is that this is really about the 7th house energy. So what's out there, you already know yourself quite well, you know your strengths, you know your weaknesses, you know your assets, you know your talents and gifts. But what I'm feeling here with the 7 of Pentacles is that this is a really good time to look outside in your world and look at it, number one, from the position of attitude of gratitude. Like, wow, I'm really lucky to just be who I am, going where I am, what I'm doing. And I want to optimize this, because there's a lot of, let's say, there's a lot of hidden potential here, a lot of buried assets, buried wealth that just simply needs to be unearthed, tidied up. Now, you just mentioned you started your garden. That's almost like the most perfect analogy you can imagine for the 7 of Pentacles here. So when you do gardening, you understand it's a lot of work. You got to prepare the soil, you got to prepare the turf, the neighborhood. You got to come to terms with the nature of the environment, how cold, how wet, how hot, how dry, the acidity of the soil, whether it's very rich and black and full of peat, or is it full of clay or gravel or a mixture or whatever it is. And then going from there. Now, Tina, before I actually get into the reading, I just want to share something, okay? I was watching one of these channels that I love. It's called Yanasa TV, Yanasa Ama Farming. And they are a younger type of farming family in the Carolinas here in America. And they're very, let's say, proactive regarding modern responsible farming. And they have a whole series on local neighbor farms. And they chose one farm, which is a farm that specializes completely and utterly in Black Angus, super high grade beef. Okay? Now, I don't want to hurt people's feelings if you're a vegetarian, but these cows are treated like royalty. Okay? They're all black. The boys and the girls, they're all black. And they are literally grass-fed, grass-finished, nurtured. They basically have a life of paradise. And the farmer, he was in his mid-70s, and he was so knowledgeable and so dedicated, but he said in the end it all comes down to the health of the soil. He doesn't bother with putting cows in pens and stuffing them full of corn and kernels and wheat and soybeans or whatever. It's all green, thick, rich grass. And so a lot of his energy is spent on crop rotation, grass rotation, pasture rotation, and making sure that the grass is as rich and thick and luscious as it can be. And that comes from the soil. Okay, I just wanted to mention that. Okay. So yeah, Tina. Yeah, it's a lot of work to do the gardening. But given what I was saying, the most important thing is the health of your soil. Now let's look beyond that. I'm thinking about, let's extend the analogy of your garden, okay, Tina, and make it look out the garden of your life, the garden of your world, the garden of your environment. If you look around in your new environment, think of it all as almost like your own private garden. And how to integrate as in this new relationship between you and your inner self and the external world, which includes your environment, the people in your neighborhood, all of that. Let's have a look at the situation itself. Wow. So we've got the Knight of Swords here. I think this is probably something to do relating with the Jupiter conjoined Mars in Aries. It's a very, very strong energy. It's fierce, it's fearsome, and it's all about it's almost like being fighting ready, willing, and able to fight to get done what has to be done. And now, I'm not trying to, tamper or hinder your ambitions here, Tina, but this looks like extremely strong energy. And it might feel like to me it feels like it's really pent up energy that you've had probably inside of you for a long time, and it's being triggered by the Mars-Jupiter conjunction right now. Like there's stuff that you really, really want to get done because it's almost like a mission to prove things to yourself about, reorienting your life and bringing a lot more like crystalline clarity, health to yourself, health to your environment, and going back to absolute basics here, becoming very, I would say, very consciously and deliberately and scientifically. If you know, as a nurse, retired nurse, Tina, you have a lot of scientific and medical expertise. So what I'm suggesting with this is that it looks like you are going to be applying 100% of your high-powered brainiac expertise in terms of cultivating your new world around you. So it becomes, it's like it's working together. There's the energy and the resources of your new environment. It's just sitting there ready to be nurtured and gardened, okay? But that's, to me it feels like the situation is that you're coming at it deliberately. It's almost literally like a mission. Like cultivating the right soil, cultivating the right like location, like if you want to go to the gardening analogy, for example, the right location for the right types of plants, whether it's food plants or ornamental plants or plants for pleasure or trees. So Tina, another thing about gardening, I'm not in a position to be an avid gardener, but I have a few friends in New Zealand. They're very avid gardeners. And of course the environment is very conducive to gardening, and it's just a very luscious environment. But they have sometimes extreme cold and extreme heat, not like what you've got, but it requires having the right plants in the right place with the right sunlight, the right moisture, and all of those kinds of things, the right fertilizer, the right amounts of mulch to get everything perfect. And once you start that, and it starts to take seed and take root, things become very luscious. And one of the problems my friends are having right now is the garden is so luscious, it's so productive, it's so fruitful, that it's like everything is overlapping on everything. And it's almost, how do you control all of that? Anyway, that's almost like a dream come true for some people to have such a luscious type of garden. But again, not just about the garden, I'm talking about your whole environment here. With with such intense application of your mental forces to the point of mission, to get done what has to be done, I think you could anticipate over the next few months or the summer or perhaps even in the next year or two, where you can, with great pride, you can look at your new environment and go, wow, I did that. Okay, what are the challenges here? Okay, so we got the Ten of Swords. My feeling is that this is something to do with the past, where I feel like because you've had such an intensive life of taking care of other people, basically capturing the resources, external resources that I call love, or the energy field of the healing power of love, and then channeling that into helping and healing other people. But it got to a point of exhaustion where you ended up being your own worst enemy. Okay, you've already lived through that experience. You know what it's like to become, to work so hard and become so dedicated, like almost like as a missionary, that you can actually cause severe damage to the self. You know, it's self-harm. It's not deliberate, but my feeling is that there's a lingering, let's say, deep fear in the background that, oh my God, I hope I don't injure myself beyond repair, or I don't injure myself again to the point where I'm ineffective. You can't do that. It's not allowed, Tina, especially as a very well documented person of compassion. If your default setting is to, love and care for those outside of you who need your love and care, you can take it too far, and you need to reserve some for yourself. And I think this energy here is very much about you and your life and yourself, okay? And this Ten of Swords here, to me, would make me shake with fear. Like, God help me. I don't want to ever go back to that life where I pour in so much energy and then it backfires and turns to nothing, and I end up injuring myself. It's a very credible, understandable fear, okay? You are not owned by this fear. You're not controlled by this. It's just to me like a big, big shadow. But you don't want to feed energy into that shadow, okay? So how do we proceed from here? Oh, look. It couldn't be any better. We've got the Nine of Pentacles. Okay, so this looks very much about growth to me. From here to here, especially when we factor in this new moon. Let's just say the new moon is symbolic about your relationship to your external world now. And that would include your local, whatever it is, your local gas station, grocery store, banks, shops, places of entertainment, nature, your wider environment, nature and parks, and then even farther out into the wilderness, and then your garden at the home, and of course the pets and everything like that. But what this looks like to me is that there's almost like a fearsome, powerful dedication here to creating a new life, knowing that you have to till the ground and weed out anything and everything that's inappropriate, and then refertilize and recalibrate everything so that it works. Because this is, let's say, a destiny or a goal, but I think it's an actual manifestation. It's just almost like you just have to remember that you are literally manifesting your own wealth, your own abundance, and starting from scratch. And very much about nurturing yourself. Living by example. It's almost like the most important thing you could do right now is take care of yourself. Okay? Even though you might have a default setting to take care of everything and everyone else. Okay? Maybe that's a lesson well learned already, and maybe it's time to take some, let's say, subconscious, well-intended energy and redirect it in such a way that's much more healthy and appropriate for you, where you can start to create a whole new world of wealth and abundance. Now, this might also include money, because I know you've been talking about looking for new sources of income, and that could be included in this, but I don't see any rush here. What I see is this is a long-term trajectory where you can kind of start to build a legacy that feeds on itself, like I was talking about with the garden, where the garden starts to become so rich and luscious that it creates its own new soil. You know how they do that, like I was talking about in that farm earlier. One of the most important activities of that farmer on the grass-fed Angus beef farm is intense focus on the soil, so that as each pasture is grazed down, it's loaded up with cow manure and worms and rain and water, and as soon as it's in optimal condition, they'll take the cows and move it in there, and as soon as the cows have done their work and grazed a pasture, the farmers will let that pasture ferment, and they hardly have to do anything because nature takes care of itself. They're very lucky on that farm that they have the right kind of soil, the right amount of rain, the right amount of temperatures and weather, where the nature is very rich and fertile. So it feels to me like, in the context of you and your reading, like this new moon is very much about planting seeds for the future, on the understanding that with really good preparation, you will get to the point that this is a self-sustaining thing, like in your garden, and that could be very symbolic for your life going outwards, where one layer of work and effort creates new results, which creates better conditions, and you just keep repeating, like the Seven of Pentacles, till you create richness and abundance. And there will be no more weeds in the garden. Of course, there always has to be a little bit of weeding, but I don't want to tell you how to run your garden, but I feel the analogy is very, very strong. I hope that helped you, Tina. To me, this is a very encouraging reading. Very healthy reading. almost like a kind of a good omen type of reading, you know? A reading of hope. But it's not a hope that you just kind of go, oh, I hope things work out okay. No, it's not that at all. It's a very active hope. It's like you're creating and building hope as your mission, because you deserve it, and you're the best person to award yourself right now. Okay, Tina, thank you. All right, I'm going to play another little ditty here. I'm going to shuffle up for Indigo and see what we're going to do on this love reading, okay? Give me a second here, okay? Alrighty, Indigo, here we go, Indigo. Alright, now if I recall, Indigo, I'm not sure, I can't remember, I think it was you who wrote to me recently that you're really concerned about the love life issues. I don't know if this is related to that, but it looks like you've met someone here, and, you know, let's have a look. Now, you know, Indigo, because I think you were talking about getting a personal reading or something in private and all that, but that's a whole other level of commitment, you know. But for tonight, I'm just going to use the situational spread like I do, because I cover anything and everything with that. But it will give us some light on the subject, okay? And for some reason, like with Tina's reading that we just had, it feels to me like the energy of hope is there right now, okay? To me, so if you extend that into your situation, I would also, it's like, you know, fingers crossed you might have someone worthy, you know, we'll see. All right, so cards are well shuffled, okay? We're going to cut it up, and we're going to ask our invisible friends, okay? You've got your own invisible friends, Indigo, whether you like it or know it or not. They are there. They are for you unconditionally, and they're not going to interfere with your life or anything like that. They're just there to say, I would say, facilitate. And just from personal experience, I can let you know that your invisible friends love it when you deliberately invite them into your life to participate. And from an observer's perspective, that might look like you talking to your invisible friends or you going into a state of prayer. But really, I'm not ashamed of it, but I do that a lot, okay? And, you know, having a conversation, but it's like projecting the energy outwards. Like I sometimes, like, I deliberately say, something like, hello, my dear invisible friends, I know you're there. Sometimes I get very crystal clear perceptions of what they look like and everything. But I can also pick up a lot of their energy. And everyone senses these things in different ways. I get a lot of body language that is communicated to me, almost like sign language, to help me understand their communications towards me. And, I'm not lazy, but there are times where I just take it all for granted because I've had a very rich, fulfilling relationship with my invisible friends for a long time. And that expression, familiarity breeds contempt. Like we take it all for granted. Now, I don't feel any contempt towards my invisible friends, but sometimes I do just take it all for granted. I feel very, very blessed, very, very lucky. Hello, Jeffrey. I'm not taking any more readings tonight, just to let you know. This is going to be a very short, quiet evening. It is the Gemini new moon. And I'm typically very, let's say, fragile in these situations every new moon. So I am allowing for that. I'm not going to beat myself up doing a 2 or 3 hour show. I just can't handle it, okay? All right, so Indigo. Let's see what kind of a message is. Actually, let me do that again because I interrupted a flow. Give me a second, okay, Indigo? What kind of messages do we have here tonight for Indigo regarding this this new love interest, okay? And I just want to scroll back in the chat for a second. I want to see exactly what you wrote because it's only a you met someone. Okay, that's good. It's lovely to actually meet someone and get that flutter, get that sense of reciprocation, like like your body language and your own instincts, your own guts can tell you very precisely that there is resonance. Okay? Now, Indigo, in a personal private reading, I would typically do my crucible spread. I don't know if you've been with the channel long enough. You might know about my crucible spread because I used to use it a lot when I did monthly readings for every sign. And I would do love and relationship, spirit, and all sorts of things. I can't handle that right now. But normally, in my crucible spread, it's on the understanding that there's you, okay, Indigo, your energy, the other party and their energy, and then there is the third energy, which is the relationship itself. It is actually its own energy field, and it's something that you guys would own, whether you're conscious of that or not. Now, in a really healthy, functional relationship, the two parties would be aware of their good fortune that they have discovered someone who is compatible and worthy, and then they would automatically conduct their relationship through the relationship. Very often in relationships, a lot of people ignore the energy and nature of the relationship itself, and they just connect directly like this, which to me is like a setup for action-reaction or action-reaction, where there's no room for breathing and there's no room allowed for action, behavior, consideration, receipt of energy, and then response. Okay? Reacting is very different from responding. In a really healthy, loving relationship, both parties would conduct everything in a very, let's say, respectful, mannerly way, giving each other plenty of time and space and room to respond to each other so that they have time, they give themselves time and permission to choose the most optimal actions and behaviors and responses. And that would be an act of love, okay? Oh, I know what I see your notes there, Indigo. Yeah, I miss it too. It was a very lively time. You're absolutely right. Well, cards are well shuffled. Let's have a look. I'm going to try again. I think I did all the cutting up and shuffling already, but I wanted to stay current. All right, so wow. I'm sorry, something. All right, Indigo, I'm feeling something very, very strong right now. And it feels like you're making very deliberate efforts to make as strong a connection as possible to, I guess I would say, myself or the reading itself, so that you are as connected as it's humanly possible to be. So that to me is a very good sign. Now, I'm not going to promise you that the reading is going to be just roses and everything, but yeah, wow. Gosh, Indigo, you got some really strong, I don't know what it is, energy field. There's something really strong coming out of you right now. It's very, very deliberate. You're choosing that energy. Okay, here's the situation. Here's the challenges. Here's how we're going to handle it. Now, I remember vaguely from your notes that some of the challenges is that you are aware that you've made some very bad decisions in the past regarding love and relationships, and you're scared, frightened of falling back into those kind of situations again. So that's very understandable. Now, of course, with Gemini, it's very much about relationships, the daily interactions, human to human. Let's have a look at the surrounding influences. And of course, I typically default to the planets because right now we're on the cusp of this new moon. So new moon cusps tend to be very, very subdued. It's kind of like, when tides go in and out. When the tide goes out, sometimes it goes out, 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 out. And then it seems to be very calm. And then it starts to move back in again, okay? Let's have a look. So we got the Ten of Swords. Okay, don't be scared. My feeling here is that there's like several layers of messages that I'm feeling here. Number one is that you are very scared of, let's say, bad decisions being repeated. When with the Ten of Swords energy, it's kind of final, it's kind of complete. It's where you can't take it anymore. So to me, like a second layer is that regarding love and relationship, it's like you've already templated yourself. You're already like formatted, reformatted, and templated for something new, where it's almost like you've made this pledge, this vow to yourself, where you're not going to do anything that would be, let's say, self-destructive or destructive, any outwardly destructive energy or any self-destructive energy that turns in from you onto yourself. I don't see this as like a warning light or a red engine light flashing, beep, 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 watch out, beware. I think this is much more of a very straightforward, okay? Like, it's just, like, it's almost like a declaration. This is not going to happen again. Now, the thing is, you don't want to focus on that too much energy, okay? Just give me a second, Indigo, because look at this, okay? Watch this. I probably have to do a little bit of acting here or something, but it's like this. You understand that expression? I use it now and again. Energy flows where attention goes. It's just pure physics. Imagine yourself as a funnel or as an instrument as a transceiver, where you are receiving energy and transmitting energy. When you do remote healing, or when you do Reiki, or certain types of yoga, or even certain type of self-healing, or remote viewing or something, you're basically accessing this phenomenon of energy that flows in and goes out. And with the appropriate, like I would say, training and experience, and then experience and training, you can actually become good at what I call energy management. So, like being a transceiver, transmitting the healing power of love, and so on. But you have to own it in the first place, okay? It comes in, you own it, and then you can share that outwards. And when that kind of process is activated or exercised, it's totally deliberate and very well intended, and it's very pure and very positive. Now, when I see the Ten of Swords here, it makes me feel like you have to be aware that you don't sort of like... oh, there's somebody put a tarot destroyer. Wow. You must never... Give me a second, Indigo. There's something... Wow, what is all this? Wow. That's scary stuff, Tarot Destroyer. Anyway, Indigo, what I'm trying to hint at is that if you imagine you're saying a prayer and you say, "Oh dear God, help me from not making horrible mistakes again like I did in the past. I don't want to ever do horrible things in the past where I self-destruct, or I destroy the relationship, or I let someone else destroy me. Please, let's not do that." Do you see what's actually happening there? You're actually focusing energy on the negative. Do you get it? Like, obviously you don't want to hurt. You don't want to be hurt. You don't want to hurt someone. You don't want the relationship to be painful. So you don't go around chanting, "I don't want a painful relationship. I don't want a painful relationship." It's the end of all. Do you see what I hope that makes sense. Excuse me. Sorry. So, I'm basically saying that to me it feels like the message with the Ten of Swords is there. It's like, don't fall into the trap of actually creating your own demise. Even though you don't really know you're doing it, you don't even know you're hurting yourself. Okay? Oh gosh, what is all this? It's very distracting. Okay, anyway. So, let's have a look at the situation itself. Oh, God. Oh, gosh. Just give me a second here. Give me a second. Oh, this is going to be one of those situations. I don't have a moderator here this evening, I don't think. Put hide user on this channel. Let's see if that... okay. Give me a second here, Indigo. This is really... I'm trying to do some housekeeping here. Damn it. Blah, blah, blah. Alright, so let's see. I don't know how this is going to work. I don't like it when I'm being attacked. It's not much fun. That's basically... that's the energy of negativity right there. It's almost like an example of what I'm talking about. When you focus all your energy on the negative, guess what happens? You plant seeds of negativity. So sometimes people don't get that. Anyway, let's have a look. What's the situation itself? Have a look over here. So I've got the Nine of Wands. So regarding this love and the relationship, you've met someone, and you have to understand the reciprocal. They have met you too. And in some ways, what I'm personally picking up from the Nine of Wands is that you've become so aware of things that, let's say, don't work, have not worked, or so much energy has been expended towards, let's say, the hope of trying to have a healthy, fruitful, enjoyable, loving relationship. And again, it's almost like I don't want to repeat that. You don't want to repeat that. Oh, for God's sake. Okay, I'm just going to close down the chat here. See if I can just shut it down. Hold on. Give me a second. No, I don't know what I'm doing here. Sorry. Technical stuff. All messages are visible. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, God. I'm trying to figure out how I can shut down the chat. It's just not even worth dealing with it. I don't really know how to do that. It's a technical thing. I'd probably have to set it from the channel. Go back into the settings or something. No, I can't do much about it. And we're being attacked, folks. Sorry. So, Indigo, I know you're coming at this from a sense of hope, and that you would like to have something to work. But it's almost like, be careful that you don't sabotage the relationship in advance. Like, let's say there's this outward expression of hope, and you feel like something, like there's this connection. You feel something to them, they feel something to you. But what it feels like to me over here is that it's almost like the real concern for you is like, I hope this doesn't work. I hope this doesn't fail. I hope this doesn't turn into a situation where I'm literally battling my way through a love relationship as opposed to just simply loving and being loved. Okay? I almost sense a bit of sadness here, Indigo. Perhaps there's so much pain involved regarding previous love relationships that don't or didn't work out, that you are, I would say, either highly scarred or highly formatted for failure. It's almost like you expect failure. And, okay, you know, it happens to a lot of people, I'm sure, but you don't want that as the dominant, like, energy field inside of you in the love relationship. So I don't know how to diffuse that or heal that at the moment. We're just doing kind of a snapshot of the situation. All right, have a look. What's the problem here? Okay, so the Tower card. Okay. All right. God, there's some crazy stuff going on in the chat over here. Weird. Weird. Look at that. I don't know if you guys can see it. I'm going to hide. I'm just going to have to keep clicking buttons and clicking buttons. Alright, I don't know. It's very difficult to deal with this stuff. It's such a drain. Why don't you, listen, Tarot Destroyer, why don't you find something useful to do with your life? Why are you expending so much energy trying to hurt other people? That's my opinion right now. That's what it looks like to me. You know? It's like you've got some serious malice in your heart. How can I learn more? How can I'm trying to do something here. Let's see. Forget it. I'm going to go back. I can't deal with it right now. So please, everybody, please just ignore the chat. We've got a complete maniac over there. It sounds like, looks like it's female, and she's trying to do everything possible to interfere, destroy our little private activities here. So indigo. Sorry, I've got to click some more buttons. Okay. All right, so with the Tower card over here, I don't know the full context or the nature of the relationship, but again, this looks to me like fear of the past resurfacing, okay? Like, like if you've already had experience, indigo, where you start off with the best of intentions, all you want to do is love and be loved, and yet things don't quite work out, and it's left scars, and it's left scarring, and the fear is so deep, okay, that hey, oh, thanks, Jeffrey. Wow. Oh, man. Thank you, Jeffrey. It looks like Jeffrey has stepped in as some kind of moderator and is doing a demolition job on this little witch. You got to be very careful, Tarot Destroyer, when you point fingers at other people like that. Okay? Because from my perspective, you are the witch. You are the perpetrator. Okay? Be very careful with your energy and how you expend your energy, okay, Tarot Destroyer? It's extremely hyper negative. All right, so with the with the Tower card here, indigo, it looks to me like there is a very deep fear, very deep embedded fear of like having a repeat situation, like it's almost like an automated thing. Oh my God. Is it just going to end up as another catastrophic situation? Oh no, oh no, oh no. All right, so how are we going to handle that? Because it's all, to me it looks like here that unconsciously or especially unconsciously, it feels like there is a lot of fear involved in the situation. Outwardly, of course, you don't want that. You want to love and be loved. Be loving, be loved. But there's a lot of, to me, it feels like fear and sadness and just the being scared of painful situations being recycled or repeated. Okay, let's have a look. How do we deal with this? Okay, so we've got the Three of Pentacles here. Okay, now in some ways this is about teamwork, but I think this relates very, very, very strongly that very, very strongly that relationships, a really healthy relationship, it has to be understood very clearly. I'm just going to do a little sketch, okay? So I can actually, I don't have to just do it with my hands. There's you, there's the other, and there's the relationship itself. These are measurable quantities. Think of that as the Three of Pentacles card. That's you, that's the other, and that's the relationship itself. Okay, and obviously what you want, what you would obviously desire, is a loving relationship. Okay? So the way that works in like simple raw physics is be loving, be loved. So the question is, how do you be loving? Now, being attracted to someone and someone being attracted to you, it's a starting point. It's the magnetic forces that bring people together. But it looks like there's a lot of residual, unresolved energy from previous situations that is almost like crippling for you, to the point where you have to, you want to relate, you want to love and be loved, but there's also deep fear that goes with the phenomenon, the experience of love and relationship. So what I was trying to point out earlier is that with the magnetic traditional attraction between one and another, it goes like this, that's what I would say 95% of people think of as a relationship. And that's great up to a point. But when a relationship is conducted from this perspective, where it's all about you and the other and you, it's almost like the default setting is action and reaction. And there's no room for consideration and response. Now, in a really healthy relationship, the things that you really want are things like patience, compassion, a good listener, tenderness, affection, the willingness to, let's say, I would not compromise, but allow them to be themselves with all their flaws, in exchange for them allowing you to be yourself with all your flaws. And also making a deliberate effort to conduct everything, especially communications, through the relationship. And back and forth. It goes both ways. And this is what would be called a very respectful dynamic in the relationships. So it might not feel as exciting or passionate, because typically when people relate this way, a lot of times there's things that are outside of our control, and we're almost like victims to the magnetism. Like it could be very, very passionate. But sometimes relationships that are very passionate can also translate into extremely short time spaces between action and reaction. So if you step outside the parameters of their expectations, it can almost be like extreme volatility. And if they step outside of your default expectations of love and relationship, and they step way outside, then it could be, again, a very, very short reaction period. However, by giving each other plenty of space and plenty of room, look at it this way, what's that other thing that they teach you in relationship counseling? It's very important that you are operating at your most optimal loving self. And if you have a lot of scarring, okay, and that energy is repeating, remember, these folks over here, they have resonance with you. So, well, whatever that would look like, I can't do much more on this reading itself here. But when I see the Three of Pentacles going forward, to me this is a very, very loud message for you, Indigo, to understand that in a really healthy relationship, there is the third entity. Now, if you want to, this takes quite a lot of time and work, so we would have to do personal readings. But, okay, Indigo, if you end up in a situation where you've got extended time spending between yourself and another, and the other and you, to the point where you are starting to get the telltale signs of respect, consideration, patience, tenderness, affection, as the primary hallmarks of the relationship, that would be a very good sign. If the energies of like extreme passion and hostility and very, let's say, volatile dynamics start to occur, that could indicate that you might be slipping back into repeated behaviors that may not work very well. There's so many different dynamics in a relationship. But if you wanted to, like when you're feeling rich, we could do a personal reading and we could actually delve into this a lot deeper, so you understand the nature of this. And I can actually also go into the astrology and get very, very precise for you. So you would know the pitfalls of the relationship. You would understand the nature of the other better, and the other would understand the nature of you better. And if you felt confident enough, you could actually share the reading with the other party, because then you would have literally a blueprint of your relationship. Because this will literally have its own astrology that is separate from yours and the others. Okay? Just letting you know. So it looks to me that this is a very, very loud message to understand that there's you, there's the other party, and that there's the relationship with itself. And you can't have a relationship with them, and they can't have a healthy relationship with you without going through the maturity process, or sometimes whatever it takes to get to the point where you're no longer relating in material terms like the actual day-to-day life, one-to-one. You're actually operating like a team, okay? Okay? Sometimes it's very hard to explain indigo unless you've either lived through it or come out the other side. In other words, knowing what doesn't work. I mean, it's really, really good. It looks to me like you have a lot of experience and knowledge in your life, that you've already made an extensive list of what does not work. You know, I don't want that. I don't want that, or that, and I don't want that, and that. Okay? So, let's just say it's early days yet, but we need to get to the point where you're operating as a team. Okay? You with them, they're on your side and you're on their side, and it would be like an investment. You know, when you look at the core nature of the Three of Pentacles, it's like the architect and the craftsman. The architects and the craftspeople. The craftspeople are exquisitely good at what they do, like carving the stone and all of that. Carving out stones and building these churches and cathedrals. And the architects are very good at the design, but they're probably not very good stonemasons. So they need each other. Both parties need each other. They have to be very respectful of each other to get done what has to be done. Hello, Sue. So, Indigo, I hope that helps you. Thank you, Jeffrey, for adding your notes there and all your help in dealing with the abuser out there. The destroyer. Okay. Hi, Sue. I don't know if you caught the show from earlier. Let me go back over here. So, Indigo, there's your little mini reading. I hope it helps for the time being. I'm still available if you want to do something private. Maybe take some time. Let's get some experience in the relationship. And if you want to dig into it more, dig into it much deeper, we can do that. Okay? But that would have to be done in private. I can't do that kind of stuff here in public. I wouldn't do that. All right. So, I'm actually going to wrap it up now because, like I said at the beginning of the show, I'm in a very, very subdued, fragile condition right now. It's typical for me on a new moon, especially the day before, then during, and the day after. So I am going to gracefully kind of fade away, and we can all live our lives and have a nice evening. Sue Bombard, if you wanted a reading, perhaps come back next week, or you can go to terralumination.com. We can go really heavy duty if you want. There's 2 levels of readings. We can handle pretty much any subject, so don't worry about that. And for now, let me just see. I think we're, you know what? Let's just leave it at that, folks. I'm just going to keep it very, very mellow. It's been a pleasure to read for you, Tina. It's been a pleasure to read for you, Indigo. I'm sorry about the interference from this destroyer person. And I hope they go somewhere else and leave me alone. We'll see. Thank you, Jeffrey, for stepping in and taking care of business and doing what has to be done. I'm going to, let's say, bow out here.